What a day. If you are in the true crime community, what a day. I haven't had a day like this, I think, since OJ maybe, or Casey Anthony, but what a day. Sean Diddy Combs finds out he's partially not guilty and partially guilty, finds out he is not getting out of jail anytime soon. Nope. He is right back tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern, probably laying his head on a prison pillow at the MDC in the Southern Manhattan, right? Because the judge said, you're too dangerous to let out. You're too violent. My words, but effectively, that's what the judge said in denying him bail. And he's got another 4 months or so till October to find out how long he's going to spend in federal prison for 2 counts of violating the Mann Act, prostitution across state lines. Okay? Could be 20 years. If it just goes to the 9th, right? The nth degree, it could be 20 years. Probably not, but it could be. So he's going to have to stick it out. It's going to be a crappy summer for Sean Combs in the federal lockup until he finds out if it's going to be a crappy 5 or 10 or 20 years in prison. And all of this happening at the same time that one of the biggest stories, I dare say, of the last 10 years, right? The Idaho quadruple murders, the mystery of why a man would break in to a home where 4 students were sleeping peacefully and brutally slash them to death, stab them to death. I've had to say a man for 2.5 years, and tonight I say Kohberger did it because he showed up in court in that tan shirt and tan tie, and that was the look, staring straight ahead. I don't know if you noticed this, but a producer I work with said, did he shave his eyebrows? And I tried to get a really close look at all these pictures. I mean, I looked closely, but those eyebrows were not the same as the ones that we'd heard about and read about, bushy eyebrows, that one of the surviving roommates at 1122 King Road said she saw. Look at those eyebrows, you tell me. Did he shave those eyebrows? Something's changed, profoundly, but it doesn't matter. If, Bryan Kohberger, you were preparing for trial and thinking that shaving your bushy eyebrows might save you from the firing squad, well, you aren't going in front of the firing squad, but you aren't going to live amongst us ever again, because today we can call you one of the most foul beasts among us. You are a sick and twisted murderer, quadruple murderer. You said so yourself. My hair stood on end when I heard him. My hair stood on end. Finally utter the words akin to a confession of sorts. I want you to see it for yourself. Take a look.
Did you, on November 13th, 2022, enter the residence at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder?
Yes.
Did you, on November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, kill and murder Madison Mogan, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice of forethought?
Yes.
Did you, on or about that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Kaylee Goncalves, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice of forethought?
Yes.
And did you, on that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice of forethought?
Yes.
And then on or about November 13th, 2022, again in Latah County, Idaho, did you kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being?
Yes.
Did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice of forethought?
Yes.
All right. Based on the state's proffer and, importantly, based upon defendants' explicit admission to committing these crimes, the court finds there is a factual basis Therefore, with respect to count 1, burglary, felony, how do you plead, Mr. Kohberger, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 2, murder in the first degree, as it relates to the murder of Madison Mogan, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 3, as it relates to murder in the first degree for the murder of Kaylee Goncalves, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 4, the first-degree murder of Xana Kernodle, a human being, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 5, the first-degree murder of Ethan Chapin, a human being, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Right. The court will find that the defendant understands the nature of the charges and each offense and the possible consequences to him of his guilty plea. The court finds that there is a factual basis for the plea and that finds the defendant believes the plea to be in his best interest. I find that the plea was given freely, voluntarily, and was intelligently made. I accept the plea. I direct that it be entered.
I'm not going to lie. It caught in my throat that Judge Hippler pronounced Xana Kernodle's name wrong twice. That was upsetting to me because I'm not on that case. I know her name. I care about her. I care about all 4 of those victims so intently that I listened to every moment of that proceeding. And I was just so disgusted by the tone of voice of Bryan Kohberger, the murderer. Just matter of fact, yes, guilty, whatever. Profound, just perfunctory. So as we were processing this, I told you, what a day. Everything else was happening on the other coast in New York. Again, Diddy, more activity. We had to wait till 5 o'clock today to find out, is Diddy going to get out of jail, waiting his sentencing? Will he have some kind of a appeal where he'll be able to be with his family while a long appellate process plays out before sentencing? And it didn't work for him. Didn't work for him at all. Nope, the judge said, no, you're not going anywhere. And then his lawyers, late in the day, if you missed this, came out on the courthouse steps to talk to the huge crowd and to the reporters who were all waiting. And this is what Mark Agnifilo, as lead attorney, said.
Today's a great victory. It's a great victory for Sean Combs. It's a great victory for the jury system. You saw that the Southern District of New York prosecutors came at him with all that they had. They're not stopping, but one thing stands between all of us and a prison, and that is a jury of 12 citizens. And we had a wonderful jury. They listened to every word, and they got the situation right, or certainly right enough.
We'll see if he feels the same way in October when the judge takes into account what he wants and what the prosecution wants in terms of a sentence. Okay, I'm going to flip back now again to Kohberger because this has been a true crime day. Senior national correspondent Brian Enton has been on this story since the very first day. He has been in Idaho for almost every single hearing. He is there live now. Brian, you were in court. Just take me there. Tell me all the feels.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot. You know, it started with us lining up outside the hallway. Some people were here 5 or 6 hours early. We were all silent inside while the victims' families walked by and took their seats first. We went in. The first thing I noticed when Bryan Kohberger came in is what you noticed. His eyebrows were a lot less bushy. He had a fresh haircut. His hair was much shorter. He was skinnier than I remembered seeing him last time. And then it all started. And I think I was waiting for some kind of emotion, finally. I mean, some kind of remorse. And it just never came. I mean, when he would say yes or guilty, I was just staring at him. Just, is there a little something on his face that like shows that he feels bad? And it never came. It never came, Ashleigh. It reminded me of like when you're on the phone with an automated system trying to get someone and you either say yes or no and you just want to get the person on the phone, the operator. Like, that's the way he was answering the questions. Like, this wasn't about 4 innocent people murdered. And he never showed any emotion, just sat there, Ashleigh.
I wonder if he enjoyed the control that he had in that courtroom, if he felt like it was control. Certainly isn't control. We're dictating his life. The community, we're dictating his life from now on. But I was surprised when I heard Judge Hippler refer at the beginning of the hearing to both families, the families of the victim and the family of the victims and the family of the defendant. Talk to me about the Kohbergers finally coming out west and attending one of these hearings.
Yeah, I sat right behind them. It just so happens that my seat was right behind the Kohberger. So I was watching Bryan the whole time, but then I would switch and stare at his parents just to kind of see how they were reacting. They never cried. They never like weeped or anything like that, but you could see a sadness on their face. They were sad, and especially when it was over and they had us all remain seated, and they let everybody else out first, the families, and the Kohbergers went out, and I could just see the way they stood up and walked out that that they were taken aback by this, but their son wasn't, and I was just wondering what they were thinking. Like, they at least had a look of concern on their face, but their son, it was just stone cold, Ashleigh. It was just like any other day.
And, there we were on the East Coast in Manhattan where Diddy was standing up and clapping for the gallery and saying, "Mom, I love you," like out loud. And here were these poor, long-suffering Kohberger parents who'd come out to support their son, and he ghosted them effectively in court.
I wondered, like, someone asked me, did they ever look at each other? I never noticed. Usually you'll see some kind of eye contact or some kind of little smile or just a little moment between, a defendant and the family. I never saw that even once. I was wondering, like, did they get some time with him before or after? Because it's so weird they never even locked eyes during the hearing. The prosecutor Bill Thompson did get emotional at one point when he read this statement where he went over the evidence, Ashleigh. A lot of it was stuff we knew. There was some, just horrible, horrible stuff about how Kohberger, which we've always wondered about, Ashleigh, he parked, they say, up in the back of the house, which we never knew, up on that hill up in the back of the house. It's actually where I would always park when I was out there doing stories. And he parked up there. He went in through a kitchen sliding glass door, which we had suspected, but we never actually heard prosecutors say. And he went up to the third floor first, brutally stabbed and killed Kaylee and Maddie. And the prosecutor alluded to the fact that they were the targets, and he never said why, but he said that that's who, basically he said that that's who Kohberger was there to kill, but when he was going down the stairs, he encountered Xana, and then killed Xana, stabbed her to death, and then stabbed and killed Ethan to death in his sleep.
And of course, Xana had gone out to get a DoorDash delivery. And who knows if that was the reason that she encountered this vile killer. And but for the DoorDash delivery, might she have remained in her bedroom like the other roommates, and she and Ethan might be alive? Because perhaps Kohberger went there just to kill Maddie and Kaylee. Perhaps he went there just to kill one of them, Maddie or Kaylee, but they were in the same bed. There's so many what ifs, and maybe we'll get answers, closer to the sentencing, and certainly when the gag order is lifted after the sentencing. Bryan, stay with me for a moment. I want to bring into our conversation Steve Goncalves, who is Kaylee's father, and his attorney, Shannon Gray, who have, endured the wrath of all of this for 2.5 years. Steve, I watched you earlier today. My heart was breaking as you, in protest, left court, because it's no secret you were not on board with this plea bargain. You're not the only family member not on board. I just wanted to touch base with you and just see how you are tonight. How are you processing, and what your thoughts are after this momentous day?
My family feels used. We feel like they took Kaylee's name and they used it as a weapon. They used it for a reason to commit whatever decision that they had, but it wasn't a shared. It wasn't something that the community agreed on. It wasn't something that we agreed on as the victims of the families. It was a script. It was just a script that they had, and we just were just another name on a spreadsheet, and they just went through the system, and it was business as usual. But this isn't a family as usual. We're not a normal family. We're going to fight back. You're not going to play us. You're not going to use my daughter's name and literally pretend like we believed in your plea deal. We didn't. We believe in our community. We believe in our peers. We believe in a jury. We believe in the process. And maybe we're fools. Maybe we are complete fools for believing you should have a trial to put somebody in prison for life or kill them. But I'd rather be a fool than to believe in the system that I see before me.
Steve, you made the trip to Boise with your family. Did any prosecutors or anyone from the prosecutor's office reach out to you or anyone with your family either before the hearing, at any point outside the court, or after the hearing?
The only people who reach out to me are agents that aren't part of this court system that have warned me to be careful with this court system. And shame on me for not listening. Shame on me for letting Kaylee down. It's my mistake. I'm sorry, Kaylee. I'm truly sorry that I didn't get you a prosecutor who really believed what happened to you could only be fixed with life. Fixed, you killed 4 people, and to take 1 life for 4 seems like pretty simple math. But these guys describe this as a win, even though they don't ask us what a win looks like. So I'm sorry. I apologize to my daughter. I let her down, and it's been a terrible day. It's been terrible.
Steve, I'll go on the record saying there's been no stronger advocate for your daughter than you. I get it. It's been a terrible day, but I really don't want you going forward thinking you haven't done everything. You have done everything and more for Kaylee. Look, I see the system. I know the system. Shannon, weigh in. You know the system. You're a lawyer. You're in Idaho. I haven't seen an advocate like Steve has been for his daughter in any case I've covered.
Steve is, he's a rock, right? He's a rock for the family. He's a rock for this prosecution moving forward and gathering evidence and facts. And we've had dozens of meetings where we basically sat in and told them what they should be doing, and them sitting down and taking notes about things. But we all the time just trying to keep confident in the prosecution. And, it was not what the victims wanted. It wasn't what the Goncalves family wanted. And the way the process was for notifying them, and it just puts a bad taste in your mouth about all of it. And, and even talking with Steve and Christy today, the tone of the judge today was, I think they felt was completely improper. And so there was a lot of things that, you walk away after 2.5 years of just being completely demonized and hassled and trolled and you name it on the internet and everybody else. And for it to end this way, not only the outcome of it, but also the way that it happened, just seems really unfair and completely uncalled for.
Steve, you've got a month to prepare a victim's impact statement. You can say anything to this court. I know you haven't prepared it yet, but do you have a preview of what you want to say to this court when you get to stand up and what you want to say to Bryan Kohberger?
I was kind of proud of my kids today because I didn't go into the courtroom, and then when it was all said and done, after Hitler tried to turn it into his secretary being busy and his lines being flooded with phone calls was more pressing than 4 dead souls that were killed in their bed. My kids came out of it and said they don't think they ever want to go back into a courtroom again. So I don't even think we're actually going to even do a victim statement. There's no point in it. It's pointless exercise. I respect that some family was in my position years ago, and they they probably felt a lot like how I feel right now and thought that they should be able to speak and address the courtroom and try to fix the courtroom. That's probably what these victim statements were supposed to be, but they're not that anymore. And we're G's, we're Goncalveses. We don't participate in pointless exercise that are a waste of our time. What we do is we speak to the media, we speak to people like you, we make change happen from inside out. And that's probably why they get mad at us and they push back at us and they say that, you know, we're combative and this and that. You know what we are? When somebody says they're 100% for their daughter and they're a G, they're 100%. And that means some little plea deal that you made in the back alley isn't good enough. It's not good enough. 4 souls were lost for one Bryan. Bryan's not worth one of these people, let alone 4. And I'll never accept a deal where one freaking Bryan gets locked up in daycare for freaking adults. And that's supposed to be equivalent to 4 souls, 4 Idahoans, 4 of us, guys, 4 of us in college doing everything to the best of our ability. One loser from Pennsylvania is in his life, in our system, taking care of him. That's equivalent. That's equivalent. You need to keep calling. You need to keep calling people like Hitler. And maybe he doesn't get reelected. Maybe he needs to pick up that phone and hear those calls and understand who he represents. Because this is Idaho, and we hold you accountable.
Steve, if you may, depending on how the next month goes, you may change your mind. You may decide to give an impact statement. If you don't, it is fully within your right. Do you have a message for Bryan Kohberger tonight?
You're a complete loser. You're an absolute loser. I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed that we couldn't have ended you. We didn't find the leadership to end you. That's your victory, bro. That's the best it's going to be. You beat me on that. My bad. I believed in the wrong people. I believed in the wrong leadership. But we'll fix that.
What do you hope for him? What do you hope will happen in the future that is now inevitable for Bryan Kohberger?
You know, they say there's such thing as a prison justice, and some of those people have reached out to me. Maybe they have a welcome gift for him. Maybe they can, you know, maybe this Pennsylvania city kid can go to Idaho. Some of those guys in there have kids just like mine, look just like mine, same age as all these other kids that were here. And you worked your, you know, you made a couple choices, made a couple wrong turns, and you're in there. But you want the best for your kid. You want your kid to go to college. You want everything for them to go in there and win. And you don't want them to die. You don't want them to die. So maybe you should talk to Bryan, have a little welcome package for him, and welcome to Idaho.
It's completely understandable. I can't imagine being in your shoes. Like I said, it's a month away. Maybe Bryan Enton, if you could step in for a moment and just give our audience a reminder of what comes next and on what dates and what happens in the next month.
Yeah, the sentencing, Ashleigh, has been set at the end, excuse me, of July, and that is when the victim impact statements will be made. I believe maybe Bryan Kohberger could also say something if he wishes. I do want to elaborate on one thing Steve was saying when his connection was breaking up, and I'm curious what you think about this, Ashleigh, because you've covered so many cases, but it was very odd to me that when we went into the courtroom, and it was such a solemn feeling, and it was, I mean, like the biggest hearing in Idaho history, and the families are there, and Bryan Kohberger's there, and there's just this really just deep, you know, feeling. And the first thing the judge says is, I've got something that I want to address, like almost with an attitude, and says that it's been incredibly disruptive, that me and my staff have been getting calls, and the calls need to stop, and my staff has work to do. And this went on for a couple of minutes, and again, I'm curious what you think, Ashleigh. You were probably listening in the beginning, but like, it just seemed kind of tone deaf to me.
I'm not going to lie, I was surprised. You know, I just kept thinking about Steve and the other family members. That's what they're hearing first, you know. I know Steve wasn't in the courtroom, but it was difficult. But I also know how affected so many people across the country, indeed across the world, have been by the loss of these 4 beautiful kids. And so I can understand that there have been some calls and messages as well. I mean, look at those faces. Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, Kaylee Goncalves, prime of their lives. Beautiful, beautiful kids. And this is what it's come to. My great thanks to Steve Goncalves and Shannon Gray, who has been his rock. I know, Shannon, you called Steve a rock. You've also been Steve's rock. Steve, we're here for you. You know that we're going to continue to follow this. We're going to continue to support you as well. And I can't say it enough. We give you our condolences always, but we also send you our love as best we can from where we are in your moment of grief. Thank you for doing this and sharing this with us. I so appreciate it.
Thank you for your microphone and your audience, because without it, we'd just be crazies that nobody would ever listen to.
Well, we're listening, and we will continue to listen. And Bryan Enton, amazing work, incredible coverage, and he will continue to be on this case as well. To all 3 of you, my heartfelt thanks for this evening. I do appreciate it so much.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.